everybody, welcome to Insomniac Live. We're back. This is episode 9. Happy Monday. Hey, it's Star Wars ticket on sale day for Last Jedi trailer. Everybody F5 in the office. Maybe not. We're all working. Busy at work on Spider-Man, but we stole some people here to come play some Ratchet and Clank A Crack in Time for you. And to my immediate right is Josh Noble, who's our principal environment artist. And we have Joel Goodsell, who is a lead designer here at Insomniac, and we're going to be playing 2009's Ratchet and Clank Future A Crack in Time on PlayStation 3, which, Joel, I know you designed. Did you design the first level?
The very first one.
All right.
The opener.
We're going to be seeing it in just a second, so I don't know who wants to play first.
I guess I just volunteered, didn't I?
Yeah, if you design the game, because the game actually does start with Clank, doesn't it?
It does. It was the first one we decided to start with Clank. We wanted to actually say, hey, this is a whole different route for Clank to be taking in our games.
So we're gonna get this going, and while we load up here, I will. I'll note again, if you have been watching the show at all, we've been doing. If you follow us on Twitch, we're donating a Brave gown to Starlight Children's Foundation for every new follower we get during the streams. A bunch of you followed right before we actually started broadcasting. Give you guys some shout outs soon in a little bit as we go here, but if you click that follow button, we'll donate a Brave gown. You want to know more about Brave gowns, hit insomniac.games and check out the news section of our website.
Remarkable boy. Quite smart. He was born in a robot factory in the
So
solar
this,
galaxy.
I don't remember the making of this
He was
sequence.
created much farther
I think this was
away.
done
My
outside.
son's
No,
name
was it-
is XJ.
I feel like it was too. Man, Grant would know. I can't remember how much of it was that clock sequence, because it also was in that teaser trailer, which is the attract reel too, and it was a really big deal when we made it
That
at
was
the
in
time.
house, yeah.
Trevor Phillips 911, Just According, King 5782, Black Milos, and Air Aro. Thank you for the follow. 5 Brave Gowns. Thanks to you guys. So appreciate you following us on Twitch.
Yes, I'm fixing.
Stand by for Sister Board scan.
You're so cute.
All right, let's see. Favorite
And we
colors,
got Dr.
green,
Nefarious
favorite
back.
numbers, 3 billion and 4.7.
Access denied.
This sort of firmly established him as like the main villain of Ratchet and Clank.
Locked out again.
And it's amazing how good these cinematics look even today. Like, sitting here watching this, I mean, you know, wouldn't...
Yeah, the resolution looks good.
These were pre-baked. This was pre-baked. A lot of this is pre-baked, which is why it can look as good as it does.
I think it's time our partnership came to
And we're probably hiding... Wow, this has been long enough. We're definitely going to load underneath it, but...
Not the hypersonic brainwaves.
Tubbyman0321, Shira Hedgie, Reek Mayhem, Godavaz, and Zevo. Thank you for the Twitch follows. 5 more Brave Gowns, so that's awesome.
And of course, the Brave Set. Which is our excuse for having awesome games.
Apologies. I should have mentioned the equipment is especially susceptible to
Nefarious' laugh
Backup generator activated.
just breaks everything.
He's awake. Stop him!
I feel like it's one of those moments where, I mean, like, Clank, like, you know, it's like where your dog is, like, gotten out of the house, and you're like, wait, where'd it go? And then you look, and you see your dog, like, at the end of the driveway looking back at you, and then it bolts. And you're like, ugh! I know that
Or your
feeling.
2-year-old.
Or your 2-year-old. I don't know that feeling. So, Joel, what was making this level like when you guys started working on this and you were...
So we actually, when Brian came to us, our guy, creative director, and said, hey, yeah, we're going to make this all about timing anyway. Like, we knew right away, like, oh, okay, we're going to work on, like, all things associated with time, and then we knew we wanted to start with a bang, so we started with all these explosions. And here we introduce you to, you know, your mentor character.
It's not... what was his name? Not Orvis. Orvis is your dad. Oh, God, what was... That's Nolan North, though.
Yes. So the other thing we did here was we introduced
Sigmund.
Sigmund, yes.
That's what it is.
And we wanted him to be a big part of this, so we went with it. But we also knew that we needed to train the player on some things in this. So we really focused in on like, what are the top few things we really have to train in order for players to really understand it. And we found that one of the things we really have to train in is the camera usage. Like, if you actually just put people through a little bit of a short little camera thing, the percentage of people actually touching the camera stick just goes way up.
Do you know who the artist for this was? Was it Ken? Steve?
I think the interior spaces were done by somebody else, Barlow did the exterior. Yeah. And then we wanted to open you up to like,
Yeah.
and blow more stuff up, because, you know, blowing stuff up is awesome.
Yeah, it's not Ratchet and Clank if there isn't just debris and bolts flying everywhere. Sebi13, Amazing DJ Dustin, Lapa Channel, Beta Ori, and Levius V Britannia. Thank you for the follows on Twitch. 5 more Brave Gowns, so really appreciate that. Thank you for following. So, yeah, the idea that we get to like play with time and like that there's this whole structure. I mean, just everything from like the art of it to like there's all little pieces just kind of slowly whirling. Like, just, I don't know, like the theme and the gameplay and the art, everything in the Great Clock to me always looked really, really.
So, do you remember who did the concept art for the clock? Was that Rod? I don't remember who that was. We looked at the concept art for the clock. There's a single shot of concept art for the clock that myself and Doug Sheehan and a few other people who were doing the Great Clock stuff looked at, and we just said we have to build that. It was so cool looking and so gigantic and so impressive that we just said we have to build this. And we have to figure out how to build it. We have to figure out how to build the wide shots, the long shots, all the different moving parts.
Yeah, we're working on, there's a Ratchet and Clank art book coming out from Dark Horse in February, and that's like still one of my favorite Cracking Time images. And even then, one of my favorite Ratchet and Clank images, period, is that painting of the Great Clock. It's just this, you like see Clank floating out in space, and there's this huge, structure that's just magnificent.
And this is the first time we actually do the real procedural time slow here, where we're actually
You're actually slowing time down inside
the gameplay for real. This is pretty. What's it doing?
That's just inside that volume.
Yeah, inside that one.
It's interesting to start a game off with Clank, isn't it? Like, I mean,
we got all this.
Godborn Plus, Critigri, Avalon SC, Jarfin, MVZNX or Muznix, Eintob, Root 8100, Ratchet 23, DB Slayer, and Holy Hot Podcast. Thank you all for the follows. That's 10 more Brave Gowns, so 20 Brave Gowns from you guys today. That's really awesome. Thanks for following us on Twitch.
Holy Hot Pockets.
Was it Holy Hot Pockets?
That was awesome.
You guys ever eat the Hot Pockets in the kitchen?
Try not to.
Yeah. I feel like there's only one way that leads, and that's to suffering.
Yeah, if you just watch is it Jim Gaffigan who does the Hot Pockets?
He is Jim Gaffigan that does the Hot Pocket bit. That's like his most famous bit, I think.
Yeah.
I saw him do that at the comedies. Oh man, where was that? Maybe it was the Laugh Factory, like 11 years ago, which was incidentally mirror moments after Michael Richards went on his famous rant. I was there in the room that night.
You were there for that?
I was in the room and saw that. It actually took like 3 days for that to blow up.
Oh, wow.
Because we didn't really have social media back then, so it took a while for the video to get around. Whereas like today, if something like that happened, it would be all over the place within 12 hours. But I remember seeing it and being like, I think this is gonna end up being a huge news story. But it took a few days.
Was there Twitter then?
If there was, it was still very new, and you couldn't really put video on it. Let's see if chat has any good questions. Well,
Yeah,
fire away.
You think I went to all this trouble for mere vengeance?
So I'm guessing the old Ratchet and Clank series is finished, and the new one is the next series. I don't think like like the Future Saga was definitely its contained thing. You know that, but who knows? We're very focused on Spider-Man right now. You guys have done a great job buying lots of copies of Ratchet and Clank on PS4, and you know, hopefully that is something, you know, that shows everyone's support and love of the franchise. I doubt they've had their last adventures, but we don't have any announcements on what could happen in the future at this point.
It's definitely more happy for me.
Why do you like working on it?
Just love the chunky geometry and the colors. And it's just so fun. The style.
Yeah, that's the remake
We're
of that.
making that. We're
Yeah.
making that. You're playing through it.
It's just fun running around, breaking things, and throwing your wrench.
Are you passing the controller off?
The huge
Oh yeah.
You guys are giving us a workout. Blue Lombax, Gord Leet, Gord 11337. Yeah, okay. Muddy Dragonfly, Elvis Browse, Goldcorn, HB Mobius, Bitmap CM, Mr. Fallen 27, Commander M21, Omega Zio, and XX Kirizu XX. Thank you so much for the follows. That's a bunch more Brave Gowns heading out to Starlight. I think we must be over 30 now during this stream, so that's terrific. And little kids are going to love getting those gowns. Which, incidentally, the gown that Insomniac created was drawn by Dave Girton of Creature Box, and did a lot of the art for Ratchet and Clank. A lot of it's in the art book that's coming out. And there's some pieces a lot of you guys have never seen. And J Castle 79, thank you for the follow as well. Corey's back there like waving his head like a white flag with the marker. He's writing the names of people following and putting them up, and he's just like tired. Can you imagine sharing a long space flight with Quark?
Oh, why do you think Ratchet's red?
Yeah. I'm just thinking about this high protein diet.
Oh. Uh-oh. So Josh, how did you get into the video game industry? What was your kind of story on?
So I have a Bachelor of Fine Arts from school in South Louisiana.
Mm-hmm.
And from there I thought I was going to go into film, 3D animation, but I found this school that was brand new called the Guildhall at SMU in Texas. And so I was in the second cohort there, and it was designers and artists and programmers all working together. And so went through that, and then got a job in Dallas, and was out there for a few years, and then made my way over to Insomniac.
How long have you been in Insomniac, man?
Probably the 9-ish year, something like that.
So like came in Tools of Destruction R2-ish?
This game.
Or is it this game? So this is your first game?
This was my first game here. We had just started on this. I think they were just wrapping up.
R2. Is it R2?
R2, and then the
Oh, Quest for Booty.
yeah, Quest for Booty.
Yeah, because Quest for Booty took us to the middle side. Captain Bruno and Ted Milky, thanks for the follows, guys. Appreciate that very much.
All right. Remember how to throw my wrench. That's all I need.
Yeah, this was the first game that we allowed you to move and throw your wrench at the same time. That was a huge breakthrough in the playability of the overall title.
Yeah, because we sort of messed with the wrench head a little bit, but I think you still had to, in Q4BB you had to pause to like do that, right?
Yeah, it allowed for so many more dynamic situations by being able to like strafe, throw your wrench, have it, boomerang back to you. I love these guys. These are some of my favorites.
And deal with just the swarmers especially, because the swarmers are always so common in Ratchet and Clank games. I like to think of them as good weapons XP fodder. That's my only problem with using the wrench. Like, I love the wrench, but I don't get any experience from using the wrench.
One of the things that we put a lot of effort into, thank you, Doug Sheehan, was making the crate explosion a lot more satisfying. We really worked on making it so there was a lot more shrapnel and a lot more bouncing around little bits and pieces.
And who knew that they could even be more satisfying than they were, because they were always so good.
It's hard to have too much shrapnel.
That's true. Eternal Darkness 100, thank you for the follow. Really appreciate that. Renegade 255 asks, so what's your favorite boss fight out of all the Ratchet and Clank games?
What do you take that, Joel?
Oh wow, there's so many. I was a fan of Ratchet and Clank before I started working here, so that's a tough one. I think the UX-99 from this game ended up actually being one of my favorite fights. It's really unique and it's really different, and I hope I got that name right.
What is that? Which fight was that?
That is the giant city destroying machine that Nefarious unleashes on Axiom City.
Yep.
Oh,
Yeah, that one that was really different and really unique.
Oh, the parrots.
I love how this game, like, even though, like, time is really a big part for Clank, like, the effects of what's going on at the Great Clock and Nefarious's impact, you see that throughout Ratchet's gameplay and what Ratchet's seeing in the world. Novra Splice, thanks for the follow. Really appreciate that. Another brave down to Starlight. If you're just joining us, we are here playing Ratchet and Clank Future: A Crack in Time on Insomniac Live. It is our 2009 Ratchet and Clank game. We're playing it on PlayStation 3, the only platform it's available on. I'm sitting here with Josh Noble, who's who's our principal environment artist here at Insomniac Games, and Joel Goodsell, one of our lead designers here at Insomniac. And we just started the game. We're barely into it.
We also have these really cool dynamic wakes. And water splashes.
Yes.
We had so much fun water tech in the PS3 days. Various waves and times and reactiveness.
So one of the reasons, actually probably the big reason I was initially attracted to Insomniac was I was in Dallas kind of looking to make a transition to a new studio, and I had just gotten a PlayStation 3, the Metal Gear Solid 4 one. It was like the 80 gig one. And so I was playing a lot of PlayStation games that I hadn't played, different series. And I played the Ratchet Clank Future, and I just like loved the art in that game, and the gameplay was really fun.
It's funny you play it because, you know, I think Ratchet Clank Future, the very first level was a fellow Guildhall alum, Drew Murray, designed the Metropolis. If I remember right, Drew Murray did Metropolis. And,
Yeah,
Tools of
I was
Destruction.
actually in school at the Guildhall with Drew Murray.
So there you go.
There you go.
Drew eventually was the game director on Sunset Overdrive, and it's cool. Right now, if you're seeing a photo of Cosplay on the screen, that is Nico Boy's Ratchet and Clank cosplay. We love Ratchet and Clank cosplayers. There's some great ones out there. I think some of them are heading out to expos in the UK and other places here this weekend. So thanks as always for sharing your photos of cosplaying and for being fans. It's pretty crazy some of the great fursuits and Clanks you guys have built. So it's really, really awesome. Let's see here. I know I saw another question, but there's so many. If I miss your question, feel free to ask it again after a little bit. The Galaxy open world design of Crack in Time was amazing, said Omega Zyro. Who came up with the idea? I don't know who came up with the idea, but can you guys talk about kind of that open world aspect where you could fly around from planet to planet? And maybe I don't know if we'll get there in the time we have. We have to get a while to get a ship.
Yeah, it takes a little while.
Yeah.
I hope I'm misrepresenting this, but I believe that was one of the original pillars from Ryan Algar, the creative director.
Yeah.
Was to, hey, we want to take this to the next level. We want to go open world. We want to have these really crazy, moons, and then it just sort of steamrolled from there. And
yeah, I remember a lot of time, because it was definitely like time was a big pillar, and the heart part of the story was a big pillar, like knowing like that element. But space, I think space was
decisions that are in this game.
Space was definitely one of the pillars of the game. I remember it took us a long time though to settle on that. Like there was a while where it was full 3D, where you could fly in any direction, and you couldn't find anything. People were getting lost and stuff. Like eventually, we had to simplify that down to that like 2D plane, so that people wouldn't just get completely and hopelessly lost. So it actually took us a long time for that to get. I felt like that was one of those things that like we spent a long time trying to get it good, and then like once we hit that point, it got so good so fast. But it was one of those things that came together pretty late, and then just snowballed from there. And this is another major thing. Oguzin124, thank you for the follow. Really appreciate that. So you have these constructo weapons. This is another big thing. Like, we wanted to have weapons you could modify and tweak. And
if you're playing on hard, by about the time you get about a third to the middle of the way through the game, if you're not using some of those constructo weapons effectively, the game gets very, very difficult.
Right. Yeah, this is actually the first Ratchet & Clank game with difficulty settings too. So I remember at the end of Tools of Destruction, we didn't have a difficulty setting in Tools of Destruction, and I remember like some of the final battles, like we just ran out of time to, like, there was like infinite health crates that spawned and ammo crates, and I remember like Brian afterwards being like, oh, like, we just ran out of time, and it turned into this thing at the end where you could just kind of like spawn camp your crates and refuel your rocket launcher and your health, and so like that game was like, we all felt like it had been too easy, and I remember that was one of the big things, like, oh, we'll do a real hard mode for the sequel.
Sure. Yeah, I felt like with I did some of the combat tuning on this, and along with like Ellis, who's the lead designer, and all that was, the designers for each level.
Right.
And I think that definitely having difficulty settings really made a difference. Like, if you were an experienced player, playing on hard was a much more satisfying experience. I will say that I always felt like we could have made hard harder earlier in the game.
Yeah.
That the hard difficulty doesn't really pick up until you get about a third of the way through the game, if you're a really good player. And that's the one thing that I would have loved to have pushed a little harder on.
We didn't have act tuning in this game, did we? This is the first game without it, I think.
Yeah, we did not have it.
So like, and that was partially, so act tuning basically in the PS2 Ratchet games, the longer you took to play, like, it would slowly make the game easier. So if you were dying over and over, or the more deaths you had, whereas if you were speeding through the game, it would ramp the difficulty of the game up on you. But with all of the like open world planet areas, it didn't make sense to penalize people for exploring, or not even penalize them, but make the game easier, versus like someone who didn't explore be penalized by the game getting harder. So it was like the first Ratchet game where we went away from that, since it wasn't quite as linear a path through.
I vaguely remember this was the first Ratchet with children characters.
I think so, yeah. We put a lot more effort into NPCs in this game than in the previous games. Even Tools of Destruction, it doesn't have the sort of secondary NPCs.
Are these Fongoids? Is that, am I right?
The ones next to you, yeah.
Yeah, Fongoids.
They kind of become a staple of the Ratchet Clank world.
Well, I mean, like, one of the interesting things too, like, obviously in the PS3 era, we couldn't really, anything you were building on PS2, you weren't going to reuse, right? So, I mean, like, everything had to be, crates had to be rebuilt, Ratchet had to be rebuilt, all the guns had to be rebuilt. And then naturally the other thing you want to do is you want to reuse the stuff you built for Tools of Destruction and reuse the stuff you built in A Crack in Time. So anything we build in these games then goes into the asset pool. So when you play, Full Frontal Assault or Into the Nexus or whatever, we can still take bits and pieces of stuff we made before, so we are efficient about, you can make a lot more content if you reuse stuff and don't make everything new the first time. I'm sure that comes up in environment hard or not.
It definitely helps when you're trying to prototype a level up.
Yes! Alright, there we go.
Right on a big hit.
Gotta love it. Pasquale 1502, Kit Key 83, and Steel Soldier 2409. Thank you for the followers. 3 more Brave Gowns to Starlight. And hopefully Joel here's in the middle of a big shootout, but he found some health. Okay, you're good now. You had like 2 health, and I was a little worried for you for a second, but you got a health.
Keeping it interesting.
You got some health there.
This fight's hard without the ball.
We got the bomb.
It's way back there.
Oh, that was
So I'm going to do this hardest job.
just want to see if we're still up.
Squirdex says we're going to get more Ratchet & Clank after Spider-Man. Who knows? We're just focused on Spider-Man right now. So, these gentlemen are taking time out of their day from working on Spider-Man to come stream some Ratchet & Clank. Everyone's busy here on that, and what we do next, when we announce it, you'll find out.
I was so happy we got in like little musical.
These guys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All the little touches there. Nice. And then I go smashing through stuff. Hey, thanks for letting me into your village. I'll smash and take your stuff.
I feel like that's Ratchet everywhere he goes, though. It's like, oh, welcome to our planet, and immediately Ratchet's like banging his wrench into stuff, knocking over, like, it's like, oh yeah, your street lights, smash, bolts, like, oh yeah, your trash can, smash.
Oh, sorry.
Were you supposed to jump up there?
How are you?
We need to have the Ratchet and Clank planet where Ratchet's not allowed to break stuff.
No,
Just like,
yeah, it just bounces on it.
No.
Everything's been coated with Scotch Guard.
Right, everything is just like, it's all Teflon.
Looks like this guy was some sort of hero.
Let's see. Well, hopefully that answered that question. So it says a future. What I'd love to Crash Ratchet 008 says what I'd love to see is a future collection on PS4. So many masterpieces got remastered. It deserves the same treatment. And that would be super awesome. As always, you know, Sony owns Ratchet and Clank, so like we can't do anything unilaterally, obviously. And then the secondary aspect is PS3 games are not easy to port out to PS3. If you made the game straight for PS3 and you put a ton of energy into optimizing specifically for the cell and stuff, it's not quite as simple as just moving things over. Like, it's a big bit of engine rework to make anything like that happen. So not quite as simple as it would seem. And we usually don't do our ports anyway. We didn't do the HD collection on PS3 of the PS2 Ratchet games. So usually if something like that were to happen and Sony did want to do it, it'd probably be an outside studio that would handle a port. And we would just give our blessing and check it out when they did it and be happy that it was available. But it would be nice. Because right now, the only PS4 Ratchet game you can play is the one that came out last year.
But it's a fun one.
It's a very good one. If you haven't played it, you can check it out. I imagine most of the people watching our stream have played Ratchet and Clank on PS4. I love this. This is so Indiana Jones.
That's the idea.
Someone said, what science fiction? I'm sorry, I saw the question and didn't get a chance to see who said it, but someone said, you know, what science fiction are you guys inspired by? I think this is clear Indiana Jones planet, Indiana Jones, like...
Why would anybody put this here?
Oh yeah.
Dude, like the things people do to hide their secret treasure, I mean, you know. I ask that question a lot of times when I'm playing Uncharted 2, just like, or you think about the Holy, well okay, the Holy Grail maybe deserves like the whole death trap leading to it. But like the little gold statue head, someone had to roll that giant boulder up there to stop Indy.
Yeah. I often wonder, like, the people that live there, do they just have like a clicker that lets
Yeah.
them bypass all
Beep,
of the...
beep.
Introduce the collect the zoning game mechanic.
Oh, that's right. So that was like the Super Mario Stars, basically.
That's
Like,
how you upgrade your ship.
upgrade your ship and unlock new areas is by having enough zoning. That's right. I totally forgot about that, but it's...
And at the time, you know, it didn't seem as cruel as it does now. I'm stuffing you in a bottle. They seem so happy about it.
You know, they have a weird space-time thing going on, so that bottle to him is like this giant mansion, like...
It's like TARDIS technology.
Right.
Exactly. I don't feel so bad now. Thank you.
Where's it Ghostbuster technology?
So we actually had to change this when you're going in reverse. So all of the puzzles were like there's slight differences to them, so that the gameplay works going in the opposite direction.
Oh, because it'd probably be a lot worse if you were having to fight the direction. So, like, you want the spin to take the player... Why? Okay, I get it.
Yeah. So it's secrets.
Secrets.
It's like, huh, these cranks were going the opposite direction when I came through here the first time. Weird.
I mean, you survived.
They're just rewinding.
Yeah, I know a lot of video games, the little kid would not be enough to weigh down that platform. You'd be like, oh, sorry, no, you got to find something heavier to weigh down the platform. The little person.
3 little kids.
And this is where...
Alien invasion.
Yep.
I really like this scene.
Yeah, this is Vorsalon and his troops.
I was born ready.
I was born ready. It's actually maybe one of the most famous lines from Ratchet and Clank. Like,
Wait. Who? Dr. Nefarious has no authority here, villain. In fact, I'm not even entirely convinced he's a real doctor.
So return my sidekick's power before I bring the thunder.
I think TJ's in the chat, and
Oh, good.
yeah.
Best line ever. I say this every day.
Yeah, you and again technology is. I think it has to be the most quoted Ratchet and Clank line in The Office by all of us for sure. You and it's such a Homer Simpson line. I love it. You and again technology. Oh, that's the whole point. Mr. Wolf 1112, or is it 9992? 1112. Thanks for the follow. As I've said before, every new follower during the stream today, we're donating a Brave gown to Starlight. If you haven't seen anything on Brave gowns, check out Insomniac.games, but they help sick kids in the hospital, so it's really cool. These videos are great.
These, yeah.
Tony Mora did them. He didn't work here, I think, when he did these, though. He was outside contracted, then he eventually came in. He worked on. He did a lot of 2D art and worked on Song of the Deep Forest and stuff. But he was Grant Hollis's friend and made all of those all the weapon tutorial videos to like teach you what weapons do before you use them.
Oh, I can get the bomb.
Nice, you
Go
collected
for it.
enough bolts.
Monty Hall it.
Well, if you need the crutch, you get the ball.
Oh, I was just
Oh
insulted.
man, fighting words. Now
Alright.
it's like using the bomb as a
Perfect
crutch.
it is here.
Oh, the sound is right.
Oh yeah, this was a huge one. It took a long time to figure out what the mechanic was for. We wanted an active mechanic, so it wasn't just hey, spam the button. Actually, like put some time into thinking about when you use it.
Oh yeah, because you got the most. Yeah. That little skill element of the gameplay is a lot of fun with it. It's like, hey, the shotgun is always like this really powerful weapon in Ratchet and Clank, but do it in a way that makes you be a little more skillful than just. Yeah.
So these characters have a really interesting history. It took us a while to actually get the nefarious robots to the point where we felt like they had any character, and it was really the breakthrough came. I wish I remembered who did it, but somebody came up with them and said, hey, let's give them an eye and a face, and let's start having them actually talk to you, while they're doing this, this battle. And then as the writing came in and the voiceover came in, it was this, they picked up their own character and they became funny into themselves.
Yeah. Getting a nanotech upgrade in the middle of the fight, it heals you fully. It's just like the greatest feeling. Like you're about to die at some point in a big gunfight, and then you level up and it heals you completely.
That's
And you're
the
just
best.
like, oh, like that moment. It happens maybe 3 or 4 times in a whole playthrough, but when it happens, it feels so good. P. Mizzle, Frogman Jared, Toppers New, Lives the Diamond Craft, Red Jaguars, and Jordy Pops Plays. Thank you all for the follows. That's, I think, another 6 Brave Gowns to Starlight. And really appreciate you guys clicking the follow button today.
So back when I played Warcraft, I used to try and time a level up.
Oh,
Right in the thick of a battle.
Right.
Just to get that full hill.
Oh, man. It's one of those little things where you just... Yeah, I think the animation on these guys is sensational too. Like just like the character of how they throw their arms up and kind of have that sort of the tentacles sort of underneath them and the spinning around when you shoot them. Oh, poor guy's getting abducted.
The swarmers flying in, that was another thing we kind of added.
Yeah, I remember that.
A great way to get them in that, different than just, hey, have them go in the door. So then this fight, the tuning on this fight took a while. So we wanted to do something big, something that felt scary, but
Destructible cover. Was that new to this?
Yeah, I think maybe we've had stuff that could get blown up before, but I can't recall. What are you guys' favorite weapons to work on from the games, or play with in the games if you didn't work on them a ton? In the Ratchet and Clank games, that is. And that question, which I paraphrase a little bit, comes from Savior of Krypton 42.
I love the pixelizer of the game.
Oh, in the PS4 game?
Yeah, I think that was genius. That was Joel Goodsell from North Carolina, I believe he came up with that one. And yeah, that was just right off the bat immediately like, oh, let's come up with a really fun new way of doing a shotgun? We don't know. We haven't found them all yet. We're keeping. He found a whole new one.
Yeah, that one's awesome. I'm still trying to. I've been trying to jog my memory. Then later in Axiom City, I remember there was one weapon I would always unlock in the debug menu to just run through and blast away all the enemies. Which one was?
The elder being portal gun thing.
Yeah, the portal gun.
Yeah, had like the tentacles coming out.
Yeah.
That was it. That was it.
Yeah. It was a rift. Was that a rift inducer, or was it a different?
The rift inducer. Yeah.
Was it a rift inducer? Which is, I think there's been several rift inducers that shoot black holes in different ways. Bluko, thanks for the follow. Okay, we got Ratchet Ship out. The Zoni have magically.
Nice.
You know, it's like pulling your Civic Accord like out of the ditch and like then magically turning it into a Camaro or a
With neon underlighting.
right. Like, oh yeah, this thing's tricked out now. Okay, cool. ETXXX, I know you can see my questions. Why do you ignore Resistance? We didn't ignore Resistance. We just played Resistance 3 last Friday for like 90 minutes. There's a full replay of that video, and you can go check it out, and we answer a ton of Resistance questions. If I see it, I'll try and address it, but just know that we did answer a ton of those questions last Friday with Marcus Smith, who's the creative director of Resistance 3, and Adam Newchester is one of our programmers.
I'm actually gonna rewatch that stream at some point when I have some time.
Yeah, it got a little crazy. It got a little crazy. I knew it was going to be a little nuts when Marcus brought the rum in.
Of course.
You couldn't tell because we're drinking in our magical white mugs, but we're drinking water today. It's a Monday.
I'm drinking iced coffee.
Okay, well, caffeine's good too because it's a Monday.
We have new coffee in the kitchen. It's very exciting to me.
Oh yeah, yeah. We just had this whole thing where like taste testing the coffee, and I don't know. I don't drink the coffee. I'm an iced tea guy, but
Yeah. No, I was in Europe when we had the taste test, and I was like, I saw the email. I was like, no, I want to be there for that. But it looked like we picked some good stuff. So.
well, that's good. It would have been the worst if you picked bad ones.
Yeah.
So this is this whole space gameplay, which is basically kind of this. I mean, like mini open worlds essentially, where you could fly around and engage in gun battles and take out ships and land on little spherical worlds, which we did spherical worlds back in Going Commando. For sure, up your arsenal may have been as early as Going Commando. I don't remember which one.
Spherical worlds?
Yeah.
I vaguely remember a quote about spherical worlds.
Yeah, we talked to Ryan Schneider about his spherical worlds quotes if you want. Poor guy. He hasn't lived that down. It's been like 10 years. Miyamoto. Whenever Miyamoto says something like, "What is Ratchet and Clank?" Just one of those brutal things.
His loss. Looking forward to one of his games coming out very soon.
Yep, Mario Odyssey in just a few weeks.
Oh, yeah.
We'll be playing that. Very unusual booty call. Cool. Great name. Love it. 6, the Donkey. Miss Megarts, Keyblade Master, and Bowser Mario and Sonic Owen. Thank you all for the follows. It's another 5 brave gowns to Starlight Children's Foundation. So thank you very much for following us. Was at one point this top down? Was that? Am I making that up in my head that there was a time where we did like a top down point of view?
We did an insane amount of experimenting with what would work, you know, with the space stuff.
I remember full
It's
3D.
entirely possible.
I feel like I remember at one point, like literally, it was a top-down view of your ship, like a shmup, and you just kind of you would fly around. I mean, I don't think it lasts super long either. Like, but we did. I remember there's full 3D space where everything was all around you in 3D, and people couldn't figure out where to go. And then I think they tried. I want to say they tried. I'd have to ask Algar, but I feel like there was a period where it was top-down view instead of this, or this kind of semi 3D on a 2D plane. Oh!
All right.
Poor Ratchet. Shoop the Hoop says, have you ever seen any speedruns of Ratchet and Clank? You guys ever watched any speedruns? You should, if you've never watched a Ratchet and Clank speedrun, you should check it out. It's pretty insane. You will see people do things, especially like in the old PS2 games, you'll see people do stuff in Ratchet and Clank that you did not know was possible. And I've had a lot of fun watching them.
I'll look that up.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. Like some of the bugs and weapons, like things that people do with the weapons, that just the weapons allow them to move around faster, is really, really crazy. And pretty cool.
Actually, Worlds right now, or do you have to defeat Warsaw first?
I think you have to take out the ship first. Lordly Integral, thank you for the follow. Really appreciate that. Ratchet Galaxy says, I think theme-focused games are best.
Right,
Cracking Time's overall concept, story, elements of music all revolve around time, and there's very strong mythology related to the Great Clock, and that's what makes the game so special. I definitely think that's true, that like this game has a very, very tightly cohesive theme. I also think it's pretty remarkable, the efforts of everyone to make this game, given that essentially we didn't start it until, I don't know, what? I mean, maybe we worked on this for 12 months?
We made this in a year.
We put this out really quickly.
Like, because of Quest for Booty, everyone was working on Quest for Booty, and there was maybe, maybe like TJ and Brian Algeier and a few people were thinking about this game, but I don't think we really started this game probably until like June of the year, so we lost, several months, and then this came out in October, so we would have shipped it by September, so we had there was no way we spent more than 13 months making this game, which I think is just really, really a testament to everyone. And so then you can land and take out this ship.
There we go.
That's what you have to do. You have to go inside the ship and beat the ship level first before you can go fly around all the other planets, I think.
Yes. Yeah, when we all rolled onto it and Algeier let us know, okay, here's the theme, you start talking about, and Clank's kind of thing to play. We want to have the Clank. The traditional Clank puzzles revolve around time. Doug Sheen and I were assigned to develop those. We both looked at each other and said, we can do real-time puzzles.
Yeah.
Like, we immediately were like, yeah, we're doing that. We're doing real-time puzzles. And there was some discussion in one of the really early meetings on, well, do we really need to do real-time puzzles, or can we just, can we fake it? And we just said, no, we got to do real stuff. We got to actually do. I forgot about this.
Yeah, that's the Quest for Booty mechanic.
But one of the funny things that I remember, I think it was Ken when he was working on the art for the time puzzles, he would have to play through the puzzles each time to get some of the stuff he needed to do.
He's like,
There wasn't like you couldn't just skip to it.
Yeah, those time puzzles were, especially the stuff that was in the game, was pretty mild compared to some of the stuff that we play tested, if I remember right too.
Yes, yeah. Brandy Wilcox did some, who's now in North Carolina as an engineer. She originally did some prototyping of a bunch of what turned out to be bonus puzzles. The bonus puzzles, the extra ones that you get at the very end, then everybody was like, oh my gosh, these are really, really, really challenging. We had ones that were harder than those.
Right.
Yeah. I love what we did here. I loved how we took the
Lasers.
the what do you call it, the magnet mechanic, and actually applied real.
There's there's the kind of the amusement park world in Tools of Destruction that has had spinning blades on those tubes. I always think the tunnels where you can walk all the way around and have to kind of navigate obstacles is just terrific. Just terrific. Let's see here. Eternal Darkness 100 said, "Is there a genre you'd love to make a Ratchet and Clank game so a Ratchet and Clank game in a different genre?"
Ratchet and Clank survival horror.
I don't know, like Ratchet and Clank Battle Royale. Maybe is that just flavor of the month right now? Like 100 Ratchets all competing in a giant arena. Last Ratchet standing wins.
Is that a PUBG thing?
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly. That'd be fun. I think Ratchet Tennis, though, obviously, is just the right call. Like, Ratchet Golf.
With motion controls too.
Yeah, totally. I always thought if Ratchet had more, I could almost imagine a Metal Gear Solid 5 Ratchet sort of thing, where Ratchet,
Ratchet hides in a crate.
well, more just like Ratchet being able to there's always these great spaces, and Gaspar was one on the PS4 game where you had a ton of open area where you could go do stuff, and so the idea of Ratchet having a big open area where there's stuff to go blow up and enemies to fight, and then how does he use his bolts? How does he what kind of interesting things? I think there's
Oh yeah, I think doing more feel and Ratchet would be
Just full on
awesome.
Breath of the Wild. Ratchet.
Breath of the Wild, Ratchet
Yep,
Clank.
absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, I think the
With weapons that break every 10 shots.
No. No. I still haven't gotten the Master Swords.
I didn't get the Master Sword in Breath of the Wild. It probably took me like 90 hours until I finally went and got the Master Sword. And I was like, man, this would have been so much better if I had found this earlier.
I'm on pause right now. I keep getting distracted. Golf Story, Steamboat Dig 2.
Oh, Golf Story is so
Rabbids
good.
one.
If you have a Switch and you haven't played Golf Story, Rabbids is terrific as
Oh, it's
well.
so good.
Oh man, Rabbids gets hard too. Rabbids gets really, really hard, which I was like, I remember playing it at E3 and I was like, yeah, I don't know, like, I just hope this doesn't have training wheels on the whole game. And like, about halfway through the game, I'm like, never mind anything I ever thought about that. Like, this game is brutally, brutally difficult. In terms of, and I'm a perfectionist, so like, I want to perfect every level, and that's,
Sure,
it
yeah.
may be easier to get through the levels, but man, like, in terms of trying to do them fast and efficiently, it's tough. Why didn't Crack in Time include Raritanium? If it did, it would have been 100% perfect, said the Wolf D.
I don't have an answer for that. That's a great question.
Yeah.
I think
Because we got rid of the combat items, which is what you... Isn't that what you spent Raritanium on? Man, I
yeah, in reuse
in tools you
traditionally
use
spend
rare. You
Raritanium
can only
upgrade
use
your-
Raritanium to get that. I guess did we not have the weapon? Did we not do that? We didn't do the whole.
You got it right.
Mr. Zircon.
Yeah, I think it was always like, it's always trying to find like the right level of complication to the weapon system in terms of how complicated it is, how much choice there is, and I think we found a pretty good balance with the PS4 game and into the Nexus. But I'm not sure if we had found that balance yet with this one. But Mr. Zircon is like the most OP thing ever. And he's so hilarious. TJ wrote so many great lines for him.
Any time a game lets me basically have a turret.
A turret that trash talks
Yeah.
everything. That's
So here's the question for you. Once Mr. Zircon hits level 5, do you keep using him?
What's his? I
Chat.
forget. What's his level 5?
Chat, if you get a level 5 Zircon, here's the question of the hour. Do you keep using Mr. Zircon, or do you put... And actually, you can... This second part of this question. Once a weapon is level 5, do you use it anymore? Because
Oh, I see what
when
you're
I
saying.
play Ratchet and Clank, once a weapon's level 5, that goes into the archive, and we're not pulling it out again because it doesn't give me any weapon XP. And if I don't get weapon XP, it's not worth shooting it anymore.
So was this the one where upgrading the wrench gave you more bolts?
I don't think that upgrades via XP though, does it? I think there's like something you found, right? The FJS 14 and Falgen, thanks for the follows. 2 more Brave gowns to Starlight Children's Foundation. Every new follower during the stream today, we're donating a gown to Starlight, so thank you for doing that.
Rare obtained.
Yeah. Anyway, so that's the question.
That's a
to
good
you.
question.
That's the question, Joel. So to both of you, really.
I would probably, move on to the next weapon. Unless it's...
Right, unless they're doing a
I'm
big
a
company.
completionist. So yeah,
Same thing.
I usually I level them up fairly evenly because once I get to 5, I tend to put it away unless I absolutely have to have it for an encounter.
Yeah, like a boss fight or whatever. Yeah, that was like that's my whole thing. Like as soon as Zircon's level 5, I just put him away until unless I need him, because he will steal so much damage XP from you if you keep him out the whole time. Canucks fan 4342, thank you for the follow.
That gun you have just decimates.
It's so awesome.
But I'm trying to think, are you harming the little guy? Is he enjoying this?
Bork, give me a status update.
Air RO said, "How did you guys come up with the Sonic Eruptor? Anyone remember the story?"
Alistair asked
They wanted a weapon. I think it started with just the simple idea that they wanted a weapon that was organic as opposed to mechanical. Like that was the genesis of it that I remember. And
I was looking at Dave's drawings, the original sketches of it recently. Why would that be? Yeah, I think really it was all about the timing on that. Like, it's a cool weapon and it's funny. I mean, Brian always talks about, it's all about like spectacle and humor and
exploding girls.
and so
Sweet.
yeah, giant creature belching, and then adding that skill component. Brooke L. Harris and Sonic Freako 1, thank you both for the follow. Appreciate that. The chat agrees generally. They say they usually stop leveling up weapons. Though, Black Cat Play says I only level up the weapons I use all the time. So he just finds weapons he likes, levels them up, and then sticks to the ones he likes.
That's valid.
I just gotta go for that, like, you know, level all your weapon up trophy.
Okay.
That's the whole.
So this is there's a bunch of combat out of one space as you possibly can.
We like that. Only environment side. We love that.
The environment artist, like, how long can you keep them in this room? Like 15 minutes? Great.
Excellent.
But that's a real thing you guys have to think about when you're making, you know, as a designer and environment artist, you guys have to work together a lot.
Thank you, Buck.
So how does that conversation sort of go when you're thinking about building level spaces, working on them together? Like, what's the interaction? How do you guys approach a new space you're building or working on something like that?
Secondary hyperspace fueling module released.
Well, it's
A lot of times we take a look at it from the point of view of how many minutes of gameplay do we need to get out of this particular leg of a mission, and then it kind of goes to what are the game mechanics that are there, and how do we build a space that makes sense with both the game mechanics and all the other things. And I just jumped right into that. Look, we're upside down.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that I like with Sunset that I really love is we can create these really cool spaces that you can come back to multiple times for missions, different gameplay.
Right.
Whereas, like, I love working on Ratchet, but a lot of the levels are very linear.
Right.
And you can just blow past, you know, months of art
In a
in
few
seconds.
Sorry.
So anytime, yeah, it's an arena where we can get some extra reuse.
Oh.
No, Joel.
Joel, really,
Fish was okay, though.
you handcuffed yourself when you ran through those two laser beams. Like, that was totally it. Killer Panda 1121, thank you for the follow. Really appreciate that. If you just tuned in, we're playing Ratchet & Clank A Crack in Time on PlayStation 3. This is our 2009 Ratchet & Clank game. I'm here with Josh Noble, who's our principal environment artist, and Joel Goodsell, who's our lead designer. And both of them worked on this game back in the day, and we're talking about how environment artists and level designers work on spaces for video games. And then Josh Noble was lamenting the fact that people blow through months of environment art in seconds sometimes.
Well, you know, that happens, but
I'm just saying, guys, you can always stop for a few seconds to smell the roses. You know, take a look at the space you're in, because someone painstakingly put a lot of their time into it.
Yeah, so in the graduate program I went to for the graduation ceremony, we had two speakers, Randy Pitchford and Gabe Newell.
Uh-huh.
And so Randy Pitchford was saying in Half-Life 2 how, you know, they built all of these really expensive assets, and then when you're on the riverboat, you're just flying past it. And then talking about, like, you know, World of Warcraft, you create this dungeon that players will play for thousands of hours. So you're getting, like, the ultimate reuse out of that stuff.
Can't believe that
So
worked.
how to work that into it.
A good example in Resistance 2 of something that I did in Chicago was that first flooded area. You know, we intentionally thread you through that flooded area on an upper level and a lower level a couple times, and with different gameplay. You know, completely different gameplay, completely different vibe each time. But we did that, you know, because we really wanted to get a lot of use out of what was essentially just a street.
Now we need to find a way out.
And a lot of games have the whole, like, go down something and then turn around and come back out it. And even earlier in the game, we had, like, the whole Indiana Jones section. They're like, oh, you got to tweak the design a little bit, but you get a lot more. You can reuse that gameplay and reuse that area. Sir Artorias, Pigeon Bay HD, Waleed Nader 4, and Talitord. Thank you all, or Talvitard. Thank you all for following. That's another 4 brave gowns for Starlight Children's Foundation.
Did you say that door to your right? There's a giant flathead screwdriver somewhere in this facility.
Just open it. Black Cat Place. This was the Fog Beach scene in Quest for Booty based on John Carpenter's The Fog, because you had zombie pirates coming out of some green fog. Probably. Probably, or like at least because we used to even pull. I remember back in the day when we would go through a ton of video like movies and be pulling reference from movies for certain scenes like that. So a lot of times effects and other folks, we look at stuff to see how other people have done it, and not necessarily to like try and do it the way they did it, but you can learn a lot by seeing how other people have attempted very similar things in terms of cinematography and lighting and all of that. And it lets you get off to a much faster start than you might otherwise would if you just try and do it from scratch without researching before you do. I mean, I know you guys are looking at, if you're making a city, you're looking at pictures of the city or pictures of cities and pictures of buildings when you're trying to build stuff, because it gives you a much stronger reference point to start with.
Right now, Google Street View is.
Google Street View in Manhattan is, yeah.
I just die again.
It's a good thing we're playing on normal, huh, Joel? Xeno Z43, thank you for the follow. Really appreciate it. Bird420 keeps asking if it's mating season, and I'm missing the joke. So you can feel free to explain it to me. If I don't know. Is it mating season spring, right?
It's a joke that we made on the last
Oh, is it? Okay.
Is that callback?
Yeah, okay, I think I know what you're talking about now. Eternal Darkness 100 says there's stories about you being close with Naughty Dog. Is that true? Oh, it's mating season. How could I know if she was your sister? Yep, okay, great. Yep, now I remember. Okay, I remember that joke now. I don't think it's mating season right now. That's definitely winter. It's spring. It's Twitter pated, if you go by Bambi's rules at least. It's a Disney movie, and there's like a whole sequence about that, and I always think that's really weird.
I'm still lost on what movie this happened.
Yeah, I don't know either. Someone said, are you close to Naughty Dog goes? Yeah, well, so keep in mind, when Insomniac first started, we were on the Universal lot, and Naughty Dog was next door. So there's a lot of crossover then. We're definitely still very friendly company-wise. I don't think it's quite the same as, when everyone worked right next to each other and hung out all the time. They're on the west side, out in Santa Monica. We're here in Burbank. In LA terms, given our traffic, those might as well be different countries. I don't know about you guys, but if I go to do you live anywhere near the west side? Do you go to the west side? I don't ever go to the west side. Very rare. So if I go to the beach, I go to Malibu even. So it's like, I mean, but yeah, crossing the 405 is like a big deal for people if you live up in the valley. If you live in the east side of the valley or the east side of LA. But Arnie from Naughty Dog was actually just here last week, and we had lunch, and he's actually coming here to check out this space that we're streaming out of. So he wanted to come by and see it, and we haven't hung out. We end up, going to a lot of the same events and hanging out on the road and all that sort of things. And a lot of times between games, there's a lot of shared learning. We're working on a game with Sony. Sony works with them. So there's a lot of institutional knowledge for how to make video games that we can share with each other, and how to do stuff on PlayStation 4 with PlayStation 4 exclusives and all sorts of that kind of stuff too.
Yeah, it's a small industry. We know people that work over there that we've worked with in the past. Say hi at conventions.
And people that work here work there at the past. So there's a lot of connections, and not just with Naughty Dog, with a lot of other studios too. But, Naughty Dog, there's long-ranging connections for many number of years. HyperArc Studios, Niston 6, Flame Alchemist, and Alakine RS. Thank you all for the follows. Someone asked about Resistance, but we said when that was going to happen. Let's see.
This shot was specifically set up to make sure you knew you were upside down.
It's like a really inconvenient place to put the door.
Yeah.
Well, it's so that a crazy
get
little
paid
Lombax
overtime.
doesn't open it whatever he wants. When you have prisoners, you don't want to make it easy to open the door. And now you have to get back to your ship, right? Is that the... Now, Vorsalon was like the secret final boss of the game. It was like the after boss, right?
Yeah.
And you had to do special stuff, and then you could you had to like, was that you collect all the Zoni? Am I getting, is that what it was? After you went back and got all the Zoni, you could go challenge Warsalon?
Yes. I think you have to get 40? That sounds like the right
40
number?
or 60, one of the two.
Okay.
I don't remember
It was a
which
lot.
was.
Yeah, and he was hard. That final Warsalon boss was...
He was harder before we shipped it too. I remember like when he was at his hardest, and I still really liked it. I was able to barely beat it, and we dumbed it down just ever so slightly from that. But man, he was tough. He's like the type where you run out of ammo on everything, and you're like throwing your wrench at the very end.
You never do that to
Oh, that. You don't want to run totally out, but it does feel really good when you're. It does feel really good when you kind of force. I feel like it feels really good when you're forced down to using a couple weapons that you may not normally use that much of.
Tell us about that, Joe.
Yeah.
Alright, so you know you're going to a final boss when you get to the full ammo vendor right before an elevator.
What do you buy?
Did the vendors heal you in this game too? Or is that just the? I think it was Tools of Destruction. Tools of Destruction, they healed you, and that was what that was the whole thing. They healed you, and you could refill your ammo. So this is but you do fight Vorsalon. You just don't kill him until the very end, right?
Right.
So this is like the first fight with him. If you just tuned in, we're playing Ratchet & Clank at Crack in Time here with principal environment artist Josh Noble and
I'm already back.
Joel Goodsell, who's our lead designer. Both of them worked on this game back in the day. Came out 2009 PS3. This is Insomniac Live. Smitty sent, thank you for the follow. Every follow during the stream today, we're donating a Brave gown to Starlight's Children's Foundation. If you want to know more about Brave gowns, check out insomniac.games. You have the whole thing on there. It was always nice when you get the weapon level up. You get like a chance to catch your breath mid-boss fight. Like, okay, he goes.
Yes. Invisible bosses, best thing ever.
Just like the invisible,
and I just got choked.
There was like something between this and the invisible insta-kill enemies in Resistance 2. I don't know if we just
had invisible snipers in 3.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Can't go wrong with invisible enemies, right?
That was one of my levels. Yeah.
That was a beautiful level. I love that level.
That was the woods, right?
Yeah. Mine time.
Yeah. Did you? I don't know if you ever saw my when we were at E3 and we had Minetown that year, and I played it on live G4 television.
I don't know if I saw that.
So I was playing Minetown and we had this pink PlayStation 3 controller that we had been using. Like Marcus used it on stage kind of as a joke, and we've been carrying it around all our live demos. And some people thought they needed to take a photo with it because they saw this pink controller and they got really excited. Because again, it was novel at the time. Like I think it was a custom-made controller or something crazy, and they wanted to take a photo with it. And all this being said, like Marcus was like mic'd up, or Ted was mic'd up. I can't remember who it was. Maybe it was both of them. And people had been messing with the controller, and my TV wasn't coming back on. And when it finally came on, like I've been like knocked out of the game, and I was like trying to rapidly load in as they're going live on television, and I'm quickly in the debug menu trying to switch settings correctly, so I wouldn't get killed on live television. And I'm in Minetown, and my first sniper shot, I like shoot the guy, and I thought I lined up the headshot, and he didn't die. And I was like, okay, I must have just barely missed or something. And I shot him one more time, and he didn't die. And I was like, oh shit. And I then got hit, and I took damage, and I was like, I made the enemies invisible, not myself.
Oh no.
So they don't take damage, but I do, and I very quickly got killed. Like literally, right as they're like, so what are we seeing here? As I die on the TV, and then I'm in the debug menu, switching settings, like going in to switch the invincibility back to myself and not the enemies. And they're like, well, this is our debug menu, and something's gone wrong. I'm like, oh my goodness, that was great. Lieutenant Dastardly Dildo, my favorite name. Angela is a Lombax. It was confirmed in the star system with the Insomniac Museum on the radio. Oh man, Angela. We're sorry. That's all I have to say. I don't even know. because we do actually meet another Lombax that is 100% confirmed Lombax in Alistair Azimuth. We won't meet him today, but if we do come back and play this game in the future, which I'm sure we will, we'll play through the rest of A Crack in Time as weeks go on in the stream. We will definitely see more of it. Professor Caton, thank you for the follow. Let's see. Brooke L. Harris, will Talwyn make a comeback in a future game? Who said there's going to be a future game? We haven't announced anything yet. I have no idea what could happen in the future. It would be too early since there's not even a game announced or anything like that. It would be too early to say what characters or what might even happen or anything. Who knows? Yeah, Lieutenant Dastardly, I didn't want to say your name before, and I just slipped out before I realized I was saying it. I probably will just refer to you as Lieutenant Dastardly in the future, but, you know. Oh yeah, so one thing I forgot we were flying around, because we can't really hear it super well, but the space radio was actually one of the fun things. Like, you know, when you're at GTA, you're like driving around listening to the radio, and like you can, like, there's a bunch of different radio stations with like music and commercials, and it is where Angela is confirmed to be a Lombax according to a radio report. I mean, that could be fake news though. Like, maybe Angela's not a Lombax. Maybe that was a fake news report.
I thought fake news was only just invented.
No, I think, well, but this happens, you know, in the space timeline, so who knows. See, speaking of reusing assets, the Smuggler, one of the coolest character models and stuff, like, oh, we have this great character, like, we gotta find something for him to do. We need a character for something. Well, hey, we've got a Smuggler model. It has to be the Smuggler.
What a game where we play as the Smuggler.
You guys watch any of the Star Wars like cartoons, like you've seen Clone Wars or anything?
A little bit.
Cad Bane.
Okay.
You know Cad Bane, like the hat, blue, like blue alien hat. Like, I've always thought the Smuggler and Cad Bane were sort of these like weird. I don't think anyone was inspired by each other, but obviously, you know how like some people have very similar kind of ideas. If you put them side by side, Cad Bane and the Smuggler with the hat and the stance, and like Cad Bane's really thin and lithe, and like, I don't know, they just were always to me like, yeah, that's like the Smuggler. Cad Bane looks just like the Smuggler. Will we ever meet Max Apogee? Who knows? Who knows? Sorry, Eternal Darkness. I'd love to be able to answer questions like that. Any cool weapon that was submitted during the Created a Weapon contest back in the day for the Crack in Time, besides Spiral of Death? That's one thing. So we do have a fan-created weapon in this game. Did a whole big thing. We got more submissions than Sony had ever gotten for any other contest like that. I want to say we had something like 1,000 weapon submissions, drawings, and everything. There was a ton of good ones. I feel like the best ones, we did do a vote at the end, or we published a blog post with like 10 of the best ones. I want to say there was something that had to do with peanut butter and jellies or toast. I don't know. Maybe I'm just hungry. So Nolan North right here.
You are the robot who assisted me in my escape from Nefarious. What is your name?
My name? Yes, of course. Sigma 0426A. But you can call me Sigmund. I'm junior caretaker here at the Great Clock.
Isn't that crazy? Like, that's Nolan North. Like, you always just hear Nolan North doing the Nolan North voice. Actually, you do hear Nolan North doing a ton of other voices. You just don't realize it because he's so good. But that's Nolan North playing Sigmund, which is pretty awesome.
What else is in there besides that banana?
That's a good question.
Where is everyone?
Lieutenant Dastardly's in there.
I'm not really sure. Nefarious and his troops just picked up and left.
Let's see. PS3 thoughts on replaying some of the games on the PS3 emulator. I don't know. We're playing this on actual PS3 hardware. Haven't played anything on a PS3 emulator. I do think if people are emulating that, that's pretty impressive technically. That's usually how it goes. Like, you know, as time goes on and computers get more powerful, it gets easier to brute force emulate some of the older chips. So, you know, it's happened ever since Super Nintendo and all that jazz.
That was one of my favorite things.
I love that.
Yeah, we figured out kind of late in production that, hey, it would be really awesome if we took those eyeball things and we just made them sort of follow you and just put them places. And it just, I don't know, it added a whole level of...
Reminds me of the door and stuff. Tatooine.
Yes, I was gonna say it's Jabba's palace door, like Ichuta.
How else would we get anything done around here?
So we did about...
Just record using the time pads and
We did
initiate
about 2
while the present
months
you
or
work
so
on the
of
other things.
prototype work
Time pads can be a
on
little tricky.
the time
Let me show
puzzles.
you how they
until
work.
we
Which on a
finally-
12-month production is like, we're like, okay, we really got to get going. Like that's a crazy amount of time.
when we finally hit on, you know, exactly what we wanted to do. We knew we wanted you to record your gameplay. We knew we wanted to see you play it back because that was, you know, like that was the fun thing, was playing along, seeing yourself, you know, do stuff. And but figuring out the game mechanics and then figuring out like the progression of game mechanics that a player could actually understand, you know, and be able to do. That took some time. And then when we finally hit on it, we were like, okay, we got it. And we built, you know, just a sequence of about 10-ish puzzles and just play tested the heck out of them.
It took a lot. I think the playtesting, if I remember right, just to like get people to, because again, like you're basically, in my mind, you're creating a completely different video game here. Like this could be its own puzzle video game.
The best compliment, and we got a lot of compliments on this, and I was just ecstatic, you know, that this went over so well for the majority of players. But the best compliment we got was Morgan Webb comparing it to Portal. I mean, I can't. That just like made my career right there.
No, I think it's a very valid comparison, and I think that was like your biggest challenge is that you had to create. It's like you're playing like this act. It would be like if you're playing Mega Man or something, and all of a sudden then you went to Portal in the middle. Like, okay, now play Portal, and you're like, okay, how do we train players to play something very, very different? It still makes sense. It's still the same controls. So maybe Mega Man to Portal isn't the best comparison, but or Half-Life to Portal perhaps. But it's still that like, okay, like it's a big switch. Of your brain, but you guys did such a great job in like teaching people how to do it, and you spent so much time working on that. So we're gonna look at this one last puzzle and then wrap things up. But don't worry, we'll play Crack in Time again in the future and see far more of the puzzles and get to Azimuth and the hover boots and all of that good stuff. We've had 80 followers today on Twitch. Thank you all for that. Like I said, every new follower on Twitch, we're donating a Brave gown to Starlight. So thank you all. That's 80 gowns. That's crazy. That's an awesome number, and we really appreciate everyone who has watched the stream today and taken the time to follow.
So did you guys design any of the puzzles backwards, or what was the process?
It was, and a huge shout out goes to Doug Sheehan and Henry Wong, who worked with, you know, as a team with.
Oh, you got to step on the thing.
Did I barely make it?
Nope.
No.
Yeah. See,
Right,
see, like
yeah.
even you, like you.
I was
like
started talking.
That's the trick. No, you should be good. You just have to go to the blue one. Oh, oh, I see. I see what you're doing.
No, I do have to redo the whole thing.
Yeah. Well, actually, you were good. Now you could go to the blue one because the green one's going to open it for you if you go straight for it. Because you should stay there just long enough. Then you can now go back and redo green.
Yeah.
Temporal recording initiated.
Can't talk and play puzzles at
Marius00, thanks for the follow. And Corey wrote this name down and said, haha, good luck. And I'm going to say, Degenerate Genormanen. Degenerate Genormanen. Maybe that's right, maybe it's not, but thank you for the follower as well. Now we're up to 82. So we're going to leave it here in the Great Clock. Any last things you guys want to say to folks? I really appreciate both of you guys coming in and spending some time with us today and with everyone on the stream.
Good trip down memory lane.
Yeah, thanks for coming and watching.
Cool. Thank you all for coming by, as always. Foxy Russian Lady, thank you for the follow. That's 83 during this stream. We've had a blast. We've got 2 more great streams coming up this week. Wednesday, 2 p.m., we're going to be playing Shadow of War, which I'm very excited about, and should be cool to play that game. And then Friday, you're going to have Corey hosting the show. I'm out of town. And we're going to be playing Friday the 13th, because Friday is Friday the 13th, so it makes sense. And yes, we let our programming decisions be dictated by what day of the week and month it is. That's all for now. In the meantime, make sure you follow us at Insomniac Games on Twitter if you want to know when we're streaming, as well as on Facebook, facebook.com/Insomniac Games. You can hit us on Instagram. Join our Discord channel if you want to chat with us. There's always a bunch of Insomniac and other Ratchet and Clank, Resistance, Spider-Man fans talking there. You can hang out there and chat with us as well. We'll be back on Wednesday with the stream of Shadow of War at 2 p.m. here on Twitch. Thanks for all the follows. Really appreciate that. Great stuff for the kids at Starlight. And